Okay, back for another video. I'm going to do things a little bit differently this time because my speech impediment tends to make editing very difficult. So I'm going to actually read from a heavily, I guess you could say a heavily scripted outline, and hopefully that's okay. Well, let's see how it goes.
Can we start the story now?
Without prejudice, I can proclaim myself an absolute Dragon Quest fanatic. I can't prove it with any Dragon Quest collection or merchandise. I'm too cheap.
Cheap?
But I can in my love of the franchise. I've been a fan of Dragon Quest since I first played Dragon Quest IX on the DS when I was a kid, and it made a major impact on my taste in games. All I craved from then on were swords, sorcery, and slimes. The goofy, puffy kind, not the gooey, angry kind. Back when Dragon Quest III was announced as an HD-2D remake, I flew out of my chair. Then, not long before the release of said title, it was announced 1 and 2 were getting the same treatment. We were suddenly living in a Dragon Quest extravaganza. Now before I get too deep, make sure you like, subscribe for more videos to take your mind off the dark and dreary world, and comment. I do read the comments and I will have a response videos to my favorite comments later. Now, let's get back to business. I normally would do a full game review as Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD-2D is on a single cart, therefore could be justified as a single game. I instead am going to do a trilogy reviews as time permits from 1 to 3. So of course we're starting with 1, which I've got to spend a good amount of time with, and I beat it and loved it. Let's get into it. For those already familiar, I go through a handful of categories when I do a review. I disclose the mechanics and my corresponding opinions on the gameplay, followed by a short synopsis of the story, sometimes to the utterly short extent, and offer my viewpoints on that. I then go into the aesthetic appearance and its appeal, then to the music, and finally to a conclusive thought. Dragon Quest was referred to as the grandfather of JRPGs, or turn-based RPGs, for a reason. This is a series that pioneered the style, made it a formula everyone wanted to emulate, and this is a full, from-the-ground-up remake of that original inspiring title. With that said, there have been a large number of quality-of-life improvements to make this game stand up on its own, while also reaching to its past for a burst of nostalgia. When you begin the game, you get to choose the difficulty level, which is something new and is helpful to those who are either new to the genre or just want to play through the game without getting wiped out, or those who are looking for a challenge and have no problem putting their feet to the fire. Once you choose your difficulty level, you jump headfirst into the adventure. You'll walk about a beautifully rendered overworld, going from town to town and dungeon to wherever else. There are plenty of secrets hiding around the overworld, including secret areas and plenty of treasure lying about ready to be plundered. One aspect that I wish would have been corrected is the random encounters. I know it's a callback to Dragon Quest of old, but being able to see the monsters I want to fight and choosing whether to engage them in combat or not is a preferred style of gameplay for me. The random encounter rate can feel high until you get spells that ease up that encounter rate a bit, like Holy Protection. When you walk through towns or dungeons, I would highly recommend checking every nook and cranny, searching every barrel and pot, because you never know what treasure is awaiting you in the easy to miss places. I, myself, have found weapons and armor that have been a huge benefit to me during my own gameplay. You'll also find things called mini-medals, which, once you find the right place, you'll be able to exchange for rare weapons and equipment that can be another huge boon to your gameplay experience. And as the game goes on, you'll be able to unlock sigils that give you more boost during combat. Speaking of which, combat is turn-based, as we've mentioned a few times before, but unlike other Dragon Quest games, you don't have a party. This is a one-man adventure, which can create some tricky situations during combat encounters. It used to be always just a one-on-one or one-on-two affair. Now you can run into entire entourages of enemies just waiting to take the new hero down. With that said, you'll come across spells and abilities on your travels that will boost your chances in combat against a host of enemies. Some of my favorites are Magic Barrier, which eases magic spells that are cast on you, and Wild Side, which allows an attack to hit twice in one turn. These and other spells and abilities can be total game changers and can flip the tide of battle should you find yourself in dire straits. Last little tip on gameplay, make absolute sure you talk to everyone. You'll find some helpful information about some secrets hiding in dialogue from NPCs all around, so keep your nose to the ground. As far as the story goes, the story follows the descendant of the legendary hero Erdrick from Dragon Quest III and his quest to save the world from the dreaded Dragon Lord. You'll go through a whole shindig where you have to save a princess, then collect your MacGuffins, go and grab your legendary equipment, then face off against a big boss in a legendary battle.
Finally, a worthy opponent. Our battle will be legendary.
Not a lot to say about the story, as this is a remake of a game from the late 1980s, and back then it was a lot harder to fit expansive stories onto a cartridge, just a few megabytes big at most. I find the story to be satisfactory, though nothing really noteworthy. It does remind me of old romantic tales, and by romantic I mean like the old form of the word, defining like tales of knights and chivalry, not the lovey-dovey modernization that we use it for now. And that to me is plenty good. Now that the story stuff is out of the way, and yes, I know, that was really short.
Wow, that was fast!
Let's talk about the looks. The HD-2D didn't originally appeal to me, however on the Switch 2 it looks absolutely gorgeous. This is definitely the best it has looked thus far, and that's saying something. Because once the HD-2D style really grew on me, the realization of how stunning the style truly is struck like a bolt of lightning, or Zapple. Dragon Quest I HD-2D stands atop the HD-2D peak as of now, with the beautifully stylized forests, characters, water effects. I particularly love the monster and spell animations. It breathes life into the world with how everything has movement and personality, and I'm sure I've talked about it before, but I have a particular love for Toriyama-san's art style. Dragon Ball was the first anime that I can remember watching, so Toriyama's artistic vision has always stood out to me, and seeing it come to life again in HD-2D brings back some bittersweet feelings. In addition to the aesthetics, the music of Dragon Quest to me always just sounds like adventure. It's never anything super noteworthy. Once you hear Dragon Quest, you know it. It's easy to distinguish. The overworld theme just sounds like a lone knight out seeking justice, while the battle themes help me focus and immerse myself in the combat. Sometimes I even forget where I am physically and just become the hero of Dragon Quest, which should speak to the immersive nature of the music alone. All in all, Dragon Quest I HD-2D is definitely a worthwhile experience and definitely an excellent jumping off point for newbies to the JRPG genre. I absolutely loved it. The gameplay is simplistic enough to teach the basics of the genre, but the nice thing about simple is it can expand to become very versatile, such as the case here. There's a lot of fun to be had, and the game really is not that long to beat. I'll put my own personal score up on the screen. But what about you? What do you think? Did you get a chance to play it? What are your pros and cons? Are you as avid a Dragon Quest fan as me? Let me know in the comments. And once again, if you comment and I like it, you may be featured in a later video. Leave a like, and if you want more of what you got here today, hit that sub and make sure you turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. Until next time.